going to want you to do is basically pull up to Elliott, and starting next to Elliott, you're going to back up about 30 some odd feet to my position.
What's up? How you doing? Here we are, Sunday evening, beautiful night, slight breeze, probably 2-mile-per-hour breeze going through here from west to east, it feels like. And I want to talk about two people, Sid and Marty Krofft, C-R-O-F-F-T. I had a really good childhood, lots of playing, lots of exploring. Had some good friends back then that I shared those times with. Hung around at the railroad tracks, that was a big thing for us, but we hung around everywhere. We were all over the neighborhood. Auto parts store, STP stickers that the auto parts guy would give us. Really good childhood. I can't overstress how much fun I had as a child. A lot of fun. And those two people, Sid and Marty Krofft, they had a big impact on me. I wish I could meet them and thank them personally. I want to thank them for the programs they created and put on the air Saturday morning, during the Saturday morning cartoons. I had a feeling of well-being watching those shows. You had Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. You had The Lost Saucer, Electro Woman and Dino Girl, Wonder Bug. You had The Land of the Lost. And I enjoyed watching those so much. And I'm pretty sure that Sid and Marty is still around. Still around. I'd like to meet them and thank them. I remember in like 1974, 75, those years, waking up, turning on my Zenith television set, waiting a minute for it to warm up, and then watching these shows. There's another one, I think the Krofft brothers made it. It was called the Lost Space Nuts with what's his name there, Bob Gilligan, and they were like, well, I don't know what they were, maintenance workers, janitors, whatever, and I think one of them said lunch, and the other guy hit launch, and the rocket went up, and they got lost in space. I used to watch that. I loved watching that. I mean, you got to remember, this is watching these shows from a kid's mind, a kid's point of view. So they were like 100 times more enjoyable than an adult sitting down and watching them today. But I have fond memories of those days, and part of it is because of Sid and Marty. So thank you so much. I appreciate what you came up with, what you developed, what you put on television. All my friends love those shows, and I think kids across America, if you find anybody around my age and ask them about those days, they would say the same thing, I think. And I never knew there was money to be made, you know, for making kids shows. I thought the money was when they made the night shows, but apparently there was money to be made. These shows were, bringing in the advertisers. I remember cereal companies were making they were advertising all the time, and Alphabets, Honeycomb, Get the Big Bite, Captain Crunch, Fruit Loops, Follow the Bird, his nose always knows. And of course you had soap, shampoo commercials, Band-Aid, stuck on Band-Aid because Band-Aid stuck on me. What's the other one there? Crest. I've mentioned before Crest. Crest was another big one. But there was money to be made. That Lucky Charms guy. The advertisement back then was effective to the point where I still remember them today. 50 years later, I mean, you're still remembering advertisement from the 70s. But once again, thanks to Marty and Sid Krofft. You made those days 10 times better with the programs you had on the air back then. Love cold water. Bunch of ice in there. Yeah, I mean, there were other shows also. Shazam, ISIS was on. I loved that. Matter of fact, I had a dream one time, and in the dream I'm going on a school field trip, and we go into this, I don't know if it was like a museum or something, and while we're in there for about an hour or so, I tell my teacher, hey, can I go back on the bus that brought us here, because I forgot something. And I get on the bus in my dream, and I'm the only one on the bus, and I think I left my jacket or something, and I look underneath the seat, and there's a box. I open up the box, and there's a medallion in there. I put it on, and I say, Almighty Isis, and I change into a male Isis. Had like pants on, I had the medallion on my forehead, and I was able to fly. And in my dream it felt so real, and then I woke up, I was disappointed. But big fan of that too, the Shazam ISIS program. And Sigmund and the Sea Monsters, that boy that was on, on that show was from another show that I used to watch, Family Affair with Mr. French. Funny thing about Mr. French, the butler or whatever, we went to Vegas a couple of years back. Well, we go to Vegas often, but this particular time we went there, and we went to a restaurant to eat, the charter restaurant, and there was a waiter there, and I was looking at, he was our waiter, and I was looking at him, and he looked just like Mr. French. What was his name? Sebastian Cabot in real life. Looked just like him. So I ended up taking a picture with him, and I told him, I go, you look like a guy who was on a show back in the old days. I think it was like early 70s, and it was called Family Affair. They had that rich uncle, and Mr. French was the butler. Sissy or something was one of the girls. So, yes.
I need help finding something.
Okay, give me a minute.
Okay.
Sit down if you want, I'll help you. What do you have to find?
I need cornstarch.
Cornstarch? Okay, who needs that?
Me.
Okay, I'll be in a minute.
Okay.
So, that's it. Thank you again, Marty and Sid Krofft, or Sid and Marty Krofft. I don't know which way they usually say it. I just went alphabetically, but I think maybe Sid's the oldest one. I don't know. They're up there in age now, if they're still around, and I hope they are. One of them I think is like in his mid-90s, and the other one is like late 80s or something. So they're up there. But awesome memories. Awesome time as a child watching those shows. I can't say thank you enough. I can't say thank you enough. It's impossible. The way I felt as a kid waking up, the Saturday mornings that were dressed up in cartoons and these programs made for children, just made my Saturdays awesome. I remember I had this feeling of like euphoria Friday, Friday towards the end of class. I was thinking, oh, tonight we're gonna watch, I remember, after, I forget what year it was in the 70s, but the Donnie Marie show would come on Friday nights. I'd watch that, and then they'd sing that song, May Tomorrow Be a Perfect Day. And I knew when that song was done, Saturday morning cartoons was the next thing for me. So, that was the thing. And then after, I'd watch all the way until 2. 2 was the last cartoon that was on, and that was Fat Albert. So I'd watch Fat Albert, and then I was off. I would go downstairs, I would get on my bike, I would take off, go to my friend's place, we'd meet up, and then we'd take off from there, probably end up at the auto parts store, and mess around all day until the street lights. When the street lights came on, and that was a common expression back then, come home when the street lights come on. Now this street light just came on. So, okay. So that was the whole thing back then. When it got dark, go home. And even that, I remember a lot of times I would be playing kickball, which was popular in my neighborhood, and the street lights would be on, and I would still be out there doing the kickball. Remember one Tuesday, I was a big fan of Happy Days. Street lights came on, and I look up and I go, oh, let's finish this game. And I kicked the ball really hard, and to this day I still remember the ball going up in that neighborhood as I kicked it, and I was going to do that, go around the bases. It was baseball basically with the kickball. And I remember I told my friend, I gotta go. It was like 2 minutes before 8 o'clock. I said, I gotta go see Happy Days. And I was a big fan of Happy Days, but I was more of a fan of Happy Days on the early Happy Days, like early 70s, rather than the ones that went into the 80s. Those became a little bit sappier, but the ones that were way back, the ones that were like 1957 circa, those were the ones I really enjoyed. Those are the ones that looked like American Graffiti. And then after that, the Fonz became a teacher. He was living with a woman with they were going to get married. I don't know, but it wasn't the same feeling anymore. With the old ones, he was this mysterious guy, mechanic. I think he dropped out of high school, but everybody was old back then for high school. At least they looked that way to me. And the movie Grease is another thing that threw me off. When I saw the movie Grease, and I saw the way the students in that movie looked, like how old they looked, and then I looked at myself and I go, I'm not going to look that old when I'm in high school. And then I'm in 8th grade, I remember, and I ended up seeing that movie again. And I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking I'm going into 9th grade next year, in a couple more months, few more months, and I don't look anything like that old. And then when I ended up going to high school, I looked at everyone else and I go, no one else looks that old either. And then I realized that in the movie, they were all like 27 to 30 something years old. I don't know why they picked old people to play high school seniors. And I will say one more thing about going back to school. So 7th grade is about to begin back in those days for me. And the day before, I think it was, it had to be Labor Day, so me and my father went to get a pizza. Nice place, had pizza, very tasty, thin, nice cheese, perfect. So we're in there, my father orders the pizza, and I'm there standing next to him, and there's these 3 girls, and they're seniors in high school, and they're talking, well, they're going to be seniors in high school, and they're talking about how they're going to be, the big shots now, and they had their hair dyed blonde, and they were talking, and I was looking at them, and I go, wow, they're seniors. I still have a ways to go. And I always remember that night before school started, these 3 girls that were talking about being seniors in high school. It reminded me of that scene in the movie Grease where they said, this year we're seniors, and we're going to rule. That's how they probably felt. So, that's it. Thank you, Sid and Marty Krofft. Thank you so much.